devotional looking at the promises of God. I'm glad you could join us today. Have you ever really wanted or desired something? When I first began following Christ, I heard others talking about how God would give us the desires of our heart. To be honest, it was usually used in the context of relationships. In my immaturity at the time, I thought it meant I just had to really want something bad enough. And if I was a good enough Christian, God would grant me my desires. Not only is this an immature way of thinking, but it can be a damaging way of relating with God. In this mindset, God becomes a genie granting wishes if we achieve a certain standard. Then, if we don't get the things we want, we can fall into legalistic thinking that we haven't completed our Christian checklist, or we blame God for not following through. So what does God promise about the desires of our heart? He promises that He is at work in our lives through the desires of our hearts. In Philippians 2:13, the Apostle Paul writes to the Christians in Philippi, telling them, "For God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases Him." The Christian life is a life of learning how to live from our heart, not just from our head knowledge. If Christ lives in us, then we have the Spirit of the living God living in us too. In today's promise, Paul says that it is God Himself who is at work in us, giving us both the desire and the power to accomplish all that He has purposed for our lives. It isn't actually about us and our desires. It is about us aligning ourselves to God and His desires, trusting that they are good. It's amazing to think that God actually directs us by the godly heart's desires that He places within us. As I've matured as a follower of Christ, the desires in my heart have changed. There are still some of the same type of things I wanted before, but they are more often eclipsed by how God is leading me to live and the desire to live that way. The stronger my relationship with Christ, the more I see the world with God's eyes, and the more I want to live doing what He calls me to do. The Christian life is a life where we learn to live from our hearts. May we all learn to trust the still, small voice that resides within us. For it is God who is already at work in you, and it gives Him great delight to see His kids living from their hearts.